My watch, I believe that clock on the wall is a couple minutes behind. So we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. It is June 10th, 2026 at 6 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Daniel Gonzalez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do our roll call, beginning with Commissioner Wheelwright.
Matt Wheelwright, no conflicts.
Lisa Jensen, no conflicts.
Melissa Kendall, no conflicts.
Daniel Gonzalez, no conflict.
John Lyons, no conflicts.
And Jonathan Hill, no conflicts. As we begin, I'm going to read a statement on decorum for the meeting. Although this is a public hearing, only the presenters and those invited by the commission may speak or ask questions, unless otherwise invited by the chair. Please wait to speak until called on. When speaking, be sure to speak into the microphone so the record is clear. Please begin by stating your name and city of residence for the record. Please limit side conversations as they interfere with the audio recording. If you need to have a conversation, please step out of the chambers. Please do not attempt to interrupt or speak over others. Intimidating or threatening speech or behavior will not be tolerated at any time. Please refrain from clapping, cheering, booing, or being otherwise disruptive during the hearing. So now we'll move to our agenda items. And as we do so, I do want to make sure that everybody is aware that the developers for the Vesper outdoor concert venue, as well as the townhome development at 313 East, 200 North, have requested that their items be continued. And so we will not discuss those items tonight. We will not take public comment on those items. So once again, especially as I see some people are walking in, the Vesper outdoor concert venue, as well as the townhome development at 313 East, 200 North, those are items 5 through 9, will not be heard tonight, and we will not have public comment on those items tonight. So thank you. Please keep watching the agendas. They will be on future meeting agendas, and so look for that coming forward in the future. Okay, with that, we'll go to item 1. And it is Provo City requests a street vacation for a section of 1600 West Street between 672 and 674 South to deed back the adjoining to the adjoining property owners. I don't have that listed. Where are you? Margaret Jensen will be presenting for us.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. Thank you for your time tonight. This first one is just a street vacation along 1600 West. It's in front of only 2 properties. The city in 2019 had them dedicate 30 feet to the city for right-of-way, and those improvements have been done. And so they are just deeding back those 20 feet back to the property owners. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I like short and sweet. That's good. Any questions for staff on this one? Not seeing any. Okay, thank you. The city is the applicant, so we'll not invite an applicant forward at this time, and we'll go ahead directly to the public comment portion for this item. So we will now open the hearing to public comments for this item specifically. When your item is up, when your time is up, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. When your time is up, you'll hear a ding and the microphone will be muted. Each person may make 1 comment during this time. So if you'd like to comment on this item, please come forward. Okay, not seeing anyone, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Did we discuss this previously? This seemed to have talked about it. It looks very straightforward to me. I have no issue.
I don't think we discussed it, but this seems like just cleanup of what needs to be taken care of when kind of like giving somebody their bond money back. So I think we should forward a positive recommendation.
I was waiting to see if there would be any public opposition or adjacent landowner or property owner opposition. I don't see any, so I'm comfortable moving forward.
Yeah, I think my only question I had was already addressed in the report where it talked about how Public Works doesn't foresee any need for this land as far as widening the road in the future, et cetera. That would be my only concern. So that's already addressed. Matt?
I think my comment or question is more a curiosity as to why this same thing isn't continuing to happen, or why aren't we having a conversation about the other lots, at least on the same side of the street? Like, I don't understand why this one little aspect is under question. Maybe somebody could help us understand that, just out of.
David Day looks like he's ready.
Yeah, David Day with Public Works. So when we were first doing this subdivision, we were trying to design 1600 West. And we had a width that we were trying to fit in there. We ended up being too wide. And ended up narrowing the widths to keep all the existing homes. There's homes on both sides of the road. So we narrowed it up to be able to fit the road through that section. It ended up being that this property was long ago enough that we asked for too much right away. And so we're just taking that back out to where everyone else will be required to have right away.
So were they the only ones where you needed more? I'm just trying to understand
They were the only ones that had subdivided on that side. And so there's really no other properties on 1600 West that would have this similar thing happen. This is the only one.
Could you put up the attachment one area map from the staff report?
I guess my only comment while she's doing that is that as long as we're being a little proactive about what's happening, or if there's something that needs to happen to other lots, let's be proactive. But I don't see any issue with what we're trying to do with this.
Yeah, it's
piece.
just that this one was a subdivision that came in. They built an additional house. They subdivided it from one lot to two lots. They built a house, and that we ended up overshooting how much right away we would need. So you can kind of see where the house is to the south of this. And where the curb gutter sidewalk will end up being. So there was one school of thought when we first started down this 1600 West design process of we'd have to buy homes, and then we decided, well, let's see what it would look like without buying homes, and it ended up working fine.
So could you go to the previous picture? Okay, it's not a part of the report. In the staff report that we received, there was a drawing that shows some narrow bands on the property just north of that, and also to the north and across the street that look like they're also those right of ways carved out. Are those not is that not the case?
There is one across the street that the curb and gutter's already in.
Okay.
And we've put that around to 6th South, a little bit north of this, but yeah.
Thank you. That's the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you see that stuff to the east, there's a strip, that's sidewalk. That now goes all the way to the north and around, and there's actually curb gutter sidewalk on 6th South and 1600 West down to where you see that sidewalk on the east side. So
then just to support Commissioner Wheelwright's question, once this is taken care of, 1600 West will be taken care of completely. It'll be, all these issues will be resolved.
yeah, this should take care of that issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for David while we have him up here? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, any other discussion on this one? We ready for a motion? Any volunteers to make a motion on this one?
I can do it.
Great, thank you.
I move to recommend approval of a street vacation for a section of 1600 West Street between 672 and 674 South to deed back to the adjoining property owners.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll begin voting.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And I'll vote aye, so the item passes unanimously. Let's go ahead to items 2 and 3, if I remember right. Yeah, 2 and 3 we'll read in together. Margaret Jensen requests a zone map amendment from the R 1.6 one-family residential zone to the LDR low-density residential zone in order to change the use of property to a legal 2-family dwelling located at 256 West, 300 South. And then Margaret Jensen requests concept plan approval to change the use of a property from a single-family home with an ADU to a legal 2-family dwelling in a proposed LDR zone located at 256 West, 300 South. Megan, are you also doing this one? Great.
Okay, so this lot has an existing home on it. And yeah, like was said, they are petitioning to rezone to LDR. The home has an existing basement ADU in it. The property owners have moved, and so they're looking to create a legal duplex. They've submitted a concept plan. Not much is going to be done to the lot other than providing the required 6 parking spaces in the back of the lot, 2 of which would be covered. But other than that, they're not going to be making any changes to the lot. They're just trying to create the legal duplex by changing the zone. And that's all I have for this one.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff on this item? Either of these items? Okay. Oh, Lisa has one.
Can you tell me how this came to be? I'm wondering, did they have an ADU, a rental dwelling license for the ADU prior to moving away?
Yeah, I believe they had the legal ADU. And then they've since moved.
And what initiated it? Did they initiate it, or was it like complaint based that somebody said, hey, they're breaking the rules? Or
I'm not 100% sure. I believe it was a code enforcement issue, and so they came to us for the rezone.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question or two.
Yeah.
So are there any other properties like this in this neighborhood or this area that have such a tree? Has this previously been done?
I know that there is a triplex next door and I believe a duplex on the corner as well. But those are legally non-conforming uses. Staff is verified, so.
What does that mean, legally non-conforming?
They were existing and then the zone changed. Usually it's how that happens after they were existing.
Okay. Was this compliant? Was this ADU compliant except for why the addition of the 6 parking places now? It feels like it was not compliant if it needs to have those. Is that right?
So the ADU just requires 1 extra parking space, but the duplex, they need 3 for each unit.
Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa.
I remembered I had another question. On page 3 of the staff report, it says that 50% of each yard must be impervious, and because of the parking pad that they're going to put in the back, that would not comply anymore. Isn't it already impervious if it has a driveway and a garage on it?
Yeah, so that's just for the backyard. I think that may be a typo. Only up to 50% can be impervious. And so by expanding that parking lot, that would create.
So they're actually putting more concrete in.
Yes, and we can confirm that with the
Okay.
applicant, but I believe so.
All right. And so is that the only thing that would need to change in that landscaping category in order for it to comply?
Yeah.
if it were an owner occupied unit with an ADU, would it still be in compliance right now?
It may not be. I don't think so, because they already have the back paved. Mostly,
Okay,
yeah, mostly covered.
so that's an iffy thing. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant for this item here this evening? I'll go ahead and invite you forward. You'll have 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay. Hi, I am Margaret Jensen, now Kershaw. I live in Salt Lake right now. Are my slides in? Okay. I'm gonna just start out by thanking you for allowing me to come here and present on our zoning request. So just as stated before, we are looking to move our property on 256 West 300 South in the Franklin neighborhood from the R16 zone to the LDR zone so we can have a legal duplex. Just a short summary of kind of our points that were in our report that we compiled and sent to you earlier. We have moved from the property due to some life changes and want to continue using that as a legal duplex. Due to not having any external changes to the home, we don't believe it will affect the overall feel and character of the neighborhood. It also is directly adjacent to the downtown zone. So 2 of the 3 property lines touch the downtown zone. It's on 300 South, a very, very busy road. And yeah, but I wanted to take today to really just kind of give you a background on us and the property. Like I said, I'm Maggie Kershaw, one of the owners. My husband and I purchased the property in 2018. I was 23 years old. My husband was 24. It was our first home. We had been married, a little less than a year. I had recently graduated from BYU. He was a CNA at the time. We were very, very eager to dig in and own a home and start putting down roots. And yeah, so we purchased it, we bought it, and quickly just fell in love with the Franklin neighborhood. It's my favorite place I've ever lived. I love the neighborhood. I mean, it's just a couple blocks from here. And I could go on and on. We just learned to just take in every part of the Franklin neighborhood and what I have to offer. I walked to the front runner station on a daily basis to go to work in Lehigh. We tried out other restaurants. I'd go to the farmers market to see my best friend's booth. And I've probably walked hundreds of miles and then, in the downtown area, walking my dog. And yeah, we fell in love with the neighborhood. We fell in love with our neighbors. We still keep in contact with, the owners of the triplex, and some of the neighbors that lived there during the time that we lived there. We loved going on our beverage runs to 7-Eleven and chatting with Raj. Like we love the neighborhood. I cannot get, that across more. And we really we dug in and we have tried to make as many improvements as we can. I don't even have a before picture of the house because we just immediately started digging and putting stuff in. We put in retaining walls, a fence, grass, plants, everything. You can see my son and dog in the backyard. And then internally, I don't think there was an inch of the house that we didn't touch. And the majority of it we did with our own 2 hands, trying to be as scrappy as possible. Of course, hired out electric and plumbing and some of the stuff that we just couldn't do. But I mean, we just really dug in and tried to make this house as beautiful as we could. Just every inch of it. You know, we've put so many hours into it, trying to make it a safe, comfortable place to live for ourselves and, you know, potentially others. You know, probably totaling hundreds of hours over the course of ownership. You know, in addition to just the money that we've also invested into the property to try to make it as nice as possible. And I mean, to restate again, I love Provo. I love this property. You know, I brought my son home to Provo. You know, walked many, many miles. This is a place that we want to come back to. We want our children to be able to come back to right now in our life, and just some things that doesn't make sense to live in Provo, but we want to eventually. Just like I said, my favorite place I've ever lived. And we truly are hands-on, like we are committed to making this property, you know, maintained and beautiful. We've spent many, many, many hours. We will continue to spend many, many hours. You can see I have lots of pictures of my husband doing various things around the house. Yeah, we're very invested in, you know, maintaining this property very nicely. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of give a little background on the heart and soul of where the request is coming from. I know our lawyer helped us draw up the more official request that we sent earlier, but so you know, I'm speaking to what I know best, which is our love for the property in Provo and our continued you know, commitment to making it a beautiful, beautiful place to live. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
A couple of questions. So appreciate the work you put into the home and understand the beauty of the neighborhood there. So it seems that the two current options you have would either be to sell it, and then when your time is right to come back to another place, or to just to rent it out as a single family home. Why aren't either of those options viable for you?
I mean, just financially, we're a young family. Keeping a home that's not, you know, that doesn't make the mortgage on rent just doesn't really financially make sense for us right now. And I mean, I think so the option would be to sell it, which, I mean, I would be incredibly sad if we had to do that. It would be just a lot of work that we're putting up for sale. And so that's why we've kind of tried to go down this route of making it a legal use. Yeah.
Any other questions? Daniel?
Yeah, do you currently occupy the home?
Not currently, no.
Just to follow up to that, who is currently occupying the home? Are there
Uh,
two families in it or just one? Or?
Two for right now. One is moving out shortly.
Okay, and how long have you been out of the home?
2 years.
Okay,
More, yeah.
great, thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now open this to public comment. Like with the first item, you'll have 2 minutes to give your comment, and you may make one comment during this time. So if you'd like to make a comment on this item, please come forward at this time. Okay, not seeing any, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I have so many things to discuss. The big question here is this a good zoning designation? And to answer that for me, I feel like I need to discuss how, like, if it was me, I would want to do exactly what she's asking, because they are sort of stuck in between the downtown zone and the residential zone. But by making them not have to be, you know, to changing the zone makes somebody else the edge to another zone. And so does it start a domino effect of zone changes as it moves along, and then therefore doesn't preserve the neighborhood, because one by one they'll go down. Knowing that they care about the house and that they will take care of it, when they're not there, it is harder to take care of, but I do feel like knowing their intent that they want to come back makes me more compassionate and makes me believe they'll take care of it. But that doesn't guarantee it. Um, the care that they're taking of it right now is better than many owner occupied houses, so that isn't necessarily an argument that is particularly important to me. I would like to hear the neighborhood feelings, and since there was no public comment and there hasn't been a neighborhood, it hasn't gone to the neighborhood meeting yet, that does make me curious about how the neighbors would feel. I don't know, it's tricky. The uses around it are pretty intense. And it is on the edge. I looked at it. It's got the little senior center building next to it. Automotive repair behind it, 7-Eleven 2 doors down, automotive repair across the street. So we're saying this is what the residential conservation zone did in some of these areas, is like held these in place because we didn't want to lose the neighborhoods. But what does that look like? It's a tiny little piece that would be rezoned for one property, which always makes me nervous. So I'm really, like, emotionally, I want to say yes, but for the domino effect, I want to say no. And I don't know what the right answer is. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I appreciate those thoughts and would add, I'm torn because the point of owner occupancy, yes, there's a component of maintenance and the look, but it's also about having residents that stay and commit to the neighborhood. Rentals don't tend to do that. So although the form of the lot, and it's a funky shape, right? It's 40 feet by 200. That is one of those problematic. And so I appreciate it, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, the whole intent is to have owners living, present, engaging, not turning over every 6 months or a year, 2 years. And this will go against that, but I also understand why the ask, why the effort. So those are some of my thoughts.
Daniel?
Because it can still be a single family home with an ADU, right?
I think your microphone's not working quite right.
It could still be a single family home with an ADU, right? Like the two of you, I'm feeling some mixed feelings on this. I know the neighborhood meeting is scheduled for next week. I'm curious what they feel or think about it. And then the other thing just in the back of my head is, how we treat items like this that come up, and treating them equally across the board from one section of Provo to another. I don't think we want any disparate treatment or disparate impact. I go to that 7-Eleven a lot. I know the intensity use of that's, I mean, it's right off of Freedom Boulevard. And then part of my head thinks, oh, okay, this would be a nice little, I know it's just one lot and there's, 7-Eleven, the office building, and then this single family home. Maybe it would be nice to have an LDR, a little buffer there, transitory. But like Lisa said, does it create a domino effect where we lose a single family home, owner occupied single family home? It sounds like we already have for the last 2 years. So and then knowing that, well, its use as a owner occupied with the ADU can still continue on. I don't know if you asked me to, I'd probably lean towards keeping it as owner occupied single family and continuing with the ADU option.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I guess the also feeling torn, looking at what's the best for the city of Provo. And is Provo, is there a compelling reason to change the zoning for this to meet an individual specific family issue versus the overall desire of the neighborhood and the city? And while her case is very, it's important to them, it's touching, but I also agree, I think maintaining the general plan desires of having owner occupied for ADUs. I think that I have not felt a compelling reason, because we could also hear another story tomorrow from somebody else. And I think that maintaining the general plan use here is I think that purpose oversees individual family request.
And I think in my mind, similarly, one of my biggest concerns is the zone change is permanent, right? It's not limited to a single family. Financial situations change, they end up selling. It still is an LDR from now on, right? So I have to pull myself away from that and just think about it. And, we could also hear a story of a family that really wants to buy a home, but it's hard to find homes to buy, right? So there's multiple sides to this particular issue. And unfortunately, I think if we're going to say that we as a city value ownership opportunities within a city, then we need to be somewhat hesitant to take away ownership opportunities in the city, right? Now, there are cases where that may happen, but it's always something we think about, we consider in there. I think I saw a couple hands. Yeah.
I agree with those last thoughts. And we really have to make decisions based on not individual circumstances. While the story is compelling, like you said, there will be other compelling stories. And so this is a permanent thing, and a zone change. We don't do zone changes because of compelling stories. We do them based on what's best for the city and the city plan, the neighborhood plan. We haven't even heard from the neighborhood. I just feel like we can't grant something like this. And we are taking away the opportunity for someone to buy a home that has a legal ADU already set up and ready to go. That makes it affordable for them to own.
Daniel and then Lisa.
Yeah, the flip side for me, leaning towards granting their request or recommending an approval, would be that this is at the intersection of probably two of some of the most busy streets in all of Provo. 3rd South, it's a state road. 2nd West, if it's not a state, it's a major arterial. And so there's part of me that feels comfortable. Okay, maybe we do have higher density along these corridors. I think there's a case for it. I think there's rationale for that. I'd still want to hear from the neighborhood. Maybe I'd want to
I think for me,
defer for a
the key there-
continuance, but I think there's a case to be made on both sides. I don't know.
Well, and I think the key there for me is that they're not actually increasing the density. They're just changing an ownership to a rentership, right? And so if it was, hey, we're going to put a larger building on this lot and have more opportunities to live there, et cetera, that would be a different consideration for me, at least.
Except that doing that is possible by changing the zone. Like if we grant the zone change, then they could do that without having to come back to us.
I don't know if they could do much because
They could knock it down and build 4 townhomes on it or something like
it's
that.
only like 0.19 acres, right?
40-foot width is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be hard to do anything on it.
The other issue is that there are other legal non-conforming properties right there.
So that's my question for staff. Are any of those properties that are on 300 South currently being used exclusively for single family with no ADUs? I guess would be a follow-up part of that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, on all the other properties on 3rd South.
Because one thing could be that it's simply too busy of a road to tie somebody down to a single family use, and that perhaps the whole street could be proposed as a rezone to LDR. But I'm not comfortable doing it for one little sliver of property because of one story. Like we need to look at the bigger thing and say, what does the neighborhood plan say? What does the general plan say? What does the traffic say? What does the current use say? If we've got an entire section of block that is all non-conforming, then maybe the underlying zoning is wrong. Maybe we need to relabel.
The one thing
Look
I
at it that
can
way.
speak to that is the neighborhood plan calls for no change, I think along the
But
majority of.
I
this.
think, is that just because it's residential conservation or is it because single family zoning is the best? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is it residential conservation
What's the
though? Doesn't
zoning?
it have to have an RC zone for
R16.
that?
It is R16 all the way down on both sides. Okay,
Sandy, would you put up the map, please?
I can see that. It is on both sides. Another question for staff along the same line. Agree with the story. We just disagree with whether this is the right tool, maybe. Is there some sort of a conditional use tool that could be used in a situation like this that wouldn't open the door for a domino effect in zone changes or some sort
Can
of
we do
I
patchworking?
don't believe so.
I don't think we can do conditions on zone changes.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do we know the adjacent property isn't under contract or something and maybe 6 months later it comes up for a zone change? I don't know. That's something we think about, right? That's what you're saying with the domino effect.
Sandy, would you take the zoning off and put the address layer on? So you can see from the address, we've got 3 addresses here. That's the threeplex that's been referred to. That's a single family home. There's 2 addresses there, 1 there and 2 there. I don't know if those are units with ADUs. I mean, that certainly looks like a unit with an ADU. I'm not as sure as that one, as sure of that one. That just gives you some context. That was all my only point for putting that up.
But as we know, or as I feel is the truth, there are so many ADUs that we don't know about in the city just because they don't have rental dwelling licenses. So like just looking at the addresses kind of makes you think that it is being used as single family, but I don't know how accurate that is. But if it is, I would be inclined to say, oh, single family zoning is working well in this neighborhood. It is preserving this neighborhood. So, okay. I'm trying to think outside the box to accomplish the goal without having to set us up for a mess of failure.
So,
I have a question. When was the neighborhood plan? What year was that?
The Frankel plan was our second plan done. We did Joaquin first, which was in about 2014, and then we did Franklin after that. So 15, 16,
So 10
sometime
years.
in there.
Okay.
If we were, I heard Daniel say maybe continuing, if we were to say we'd like to continue this, what would we be continuing it on?
It would be
Based on the neighborhood
basis
meeting?
of the neighborhood meeting and
Like, would we want city staff to walk and do a on the ground assessment of addresses to see if the zoning is correct for the area?
no, I mean, I think I visually like, and just having, I've done this road again. Well, I did it on the way here. That, there is residential directly across the street from it. It's pretty delineated, the parts that are business and then the
Mhm.
parts that are not, so there's part of me that wants to preserve the single family character. Then you have a neighborhood plan that says, no, keep it the same. So I just want the additional data point of a neighborhood response.
So a question then, the property right to the west, that's 262, 264, and 266 on this map. Is that one of those that's the non-conforming triplex?
Yeah.
So that's in their immediate neighborhood at 300, if you think of that as a busy street, that they're right across is a property that already kind of meets what they're trying to do, right?
See, as I look at this, if I were to say, yeah, let's put a little bit of LDR in here as a buffer zone between the downtown zone and this R16 zone, I would say, let's take this property, the non-conforming triplex next to it, and the 2 properties across the street that look like they're both duplexes and make them all LDR. But I wouldn't just choose one of the 3
And when
when they all have the same problem.
when you say that the 2 properties across the street, you're talking 267, 265.
yes.
255 and
255.
253.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that number is so small, but I think they're both duplexes.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense to me.
And I would agree with all of that. Continuing would be my suggestion. But then I also think that the staff or the applicant could find a way to help us to understand which components are legal, which are illegal in this vicinity, because I think there is some question in my mind as to what's the right answer. If everybody's not conforming in some way,
Why is it?
then we have a
I-
problem that needs a better answer than a one-off. I'd love that information.
I guess if a big sticking point for me would be, I'd be reluctant to do a zone map amendment without a neighborhood input from the neighborhood.
I agree. So those would be the conditions of the continuance, to hear from the neighborhood and then assess if a rezone of those 4 properties makes sense.
Or some other
Some other-
delineation,
even
but
more.
something beyond one property.
Even more, like the corner one here is a duplex, right? You skip one house, it's a duplex there too, so,
Both sides, yeah.
yeah.
So additionally, I heard Matt suggest that you would like a zoning verification on the surrounding properties to see what the legal use of those parcels are.
Yeah.
Okay. We can do
Yeah,
that.
legal or illegal ADUs,
Because
what's happening.
Basically, if they were conforming, what would it have to be? The way I think of it, is that right?
Just help us understand what's really happening there.
Oh, you
However,
mean
is the
what-
best way to give us some more context.
Mr. Hill, you mean if the uses that are currently there were to be conforming, we would have to change it to what?
Yes, exactly. Like the triplex, right, is a good example. It's non-conforming, grandfathered in for anyone that doesn't know that term. But what would it have to be if it was conforming, right? If we just updated the zone on this block to make it right, what would we have to do?
Is that something we should be initiating or requesting, or should that be, or like
I think
organically
we
coming
can.
from the neighborhood or an applicant?
I think it depends. If we're trying to help one person who's applied and we're not willing to say this is in compliance with our thinking on the general plan and the zoning and the neighborhood plan, then we're looking for an alternative way to solve this problem. So if somebody wants to go back and I guess the staff would have to initiate it if there weren't property owners asking for it. How does that work, Bill?
Yes, the staff can initiate, the city can rezone property without the owner's consent. That's unusual for us to do that. So I would want to reach out to those property owners and see how they feel about that.
But we are kind of reversed right now because they're going to meet, was it next week? I can't remember the date. Couldn't we prompt, I don't know who from planning might be at that meeting, or if that even makes sense, but try to get some feedback along those lines too. If we were to do something broader than one lot, what would that look like? Seems like to me like that could come up and we could actually have some real positive or constructive information from the neighbors along those
Like
lines, not just
that neighborhood meeting could facilitate a group discussion
help us
about
understand.
this.
I'm reluctant to widen the scope of what's in front of us. I like the call of the question is this property, this thing. I know we'd probably like to see other properties, adjacent properties, similar situated properties be considered, but for me, it's like, I don't know if I want to expand the scope of that question and the inquiry. Like,
Well, then
just have
maybe
this before us.
what we do is we recommend denial because of that. And then they know that if they want to pursue it, the way to pursue it is with a bigger chunk. And then maybe it would be more in line with the planning commission's
And we-
or
logic.
recommend approval and people put their reasons for approval or denial or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Take a
either way.
vote straight up. And then we confirm this is R16, not RC, correct?
correct.
Okay, so it's not automatically going to happen with the code rewrite where we have to find a zone for it anyway, kind of thing. So that's significant. there.
My biggest compassion is nobody wants to be on the border. And I have always been in great favor of finding medium density residential to go between the commercial uses, like for example, along University Avenue and a single family neighborhood. And so this doesn't have that advantage because it literally abuts a very intense potential use. And so I would like to find a solution for it, but I'm not comfortable with this ask as it is.
And you're right that those other properties are grandfathered in, so they collectively become the buffer. And there is a domino effect that will occur. That's how it goes. So to me, the question would be different if this family was trying to get an ADU to be able to stay there and afford the home, that's a little different situation. They can sell the home and another family can purchase it and live in it and afford it because of the ADU.
Mhm.
So I don't feel like we're obligated to rezone a property either to help somebody financially when they're not even going to be living there. This is an investment now. Does that make sense? So
Yeah. Yeah, and just by way of like context or history, we previously had it was in the Provo South area, a proposed duplex on a vacant lot adjacent to a multifamily. And the neighborhood came out very strongly, no. They didn't want a transition thing. I liked it and liked the idea of the transition type of zoning. But in the back of my head, like without the neighbors speaking up, there's reason for me to at least at a minimum can continue.
So the options we have right now are to continue or to take a vote now. Which way are we leaning?
I would make a motion to deny it, actually.
Okay.
And then, like Lisa said, if the applicant and the neighborhood think differently about this, they get together and come up with a new plan.
And we also have to remember that the city council hears this before it's final. So we can send a recommendation of denial and the city council can completely ignore our recommendation if they have different findings.
In the
So,
opposite
I-
direction as well.
right.
Melissa made a motion. I think we need to hear if there's a second.
Okay, I didn't know that was a formal motion
Is that
or
a
a
formal- I
suggestion
heard
for
it
one that
would.
we could have.
To make a
Yeah,
motion.
it was like,
Yeah,
I
she
think we
said-
should,
think
yeah.
we should
She said
make a motion.
Oh, I just don't want to
Yeah.
want to make sure the,
Yeah.
the commission heard you.
But you can make a motion at any time. So if you want to make that motion, we can consider it.
Does anybody have any other thoughts before I do that?
I'm comfortable with that, but feel like continuing it to see what the neighborhood says helps us, but I'm comfortable with that too.
For me, I think order of operations, maybe we take a vote on continuing, and if that fails, then we have the motion to recommend denial, right? And so just to see where things fall.
I'm only okay with continuing if staff feels like there's something that they are going to be able to do before we hear it again, because otherwise we're just saying we don't want to make this decision. Let's kick it down the road.
Other than the neighborhood input, you're
The
saying.
neighborhood meeting, if that's a good enough reason, yeah.
Oh, I don't mind making a decision after the neighborhood meeting. Like we could make a definitive decision after the neighborhood meeting.
Is that significant reason to wait till a neighborhood
for me
meeting
it
happens?
is.
Because a neighborhood meeting is not required.
No, I know, and nobody may even have a word to say about it at all.
So
Like,
how would
I
that, how
recognize
would that
that.
affect your decision? Would that change your decision to have nobody in the neighborhood say,
Probably
care?
not.
See?
It would affect my, I
Would
mean, hard to say.
Right.
For me, it might affect my decision if the neighborhood comes out and says, this is awesome, we love it. That would be the only time that I might consider it, but. I think that's what it comes down to on a motion to continue it. The question for each person to consider is, would the additional information help me make the decision or not, right? And if the answer is no, then vote no on the continue. And then we can move to another motion if it fails, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna move to continue item number 2. Margaret Jensen requests his own map amendment from the R16 one family residential zone to the LDR low density residential zone in order to change the use of the property to a legal 2-family dwelling located at 256 West, 300 South, Franklin neighborhood.
And you're going to continue it for what information would you like to receive?
To see the results of the neighborhood meeting.
Anything else?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? We had some discussion about staff confirming current uses around it, et cetera. Do we want to add that to the motion?
I would really like to see that. If we're going to continue it, we may as well try and get more information, but I don't know what is a fair ask of staff.
We can perform zoning verifications for the surrounding properties. I would probably feel least comfortable with continuing this to look at a wider rezoning because I think you'd be really straying from the neighborhood plan, which planning commission probably shouldn't entertain.
Initiate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, in that case, I don't know that the neighborhood meeting is going to change my opinion of the need for a buffer. So I would probably not have my vote be any different with a continuance. So
Okay. So let's go
I'm in
ahead.
the same way. I don't think the continuance would help me at all.
Well, let's go ahead and
let's vote
then
on it.
On it. So Matt,
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
And I'll vote nay, so that's 4 nays to 2 ayes on this one. Okay, so now do we want to make another motion, Melissa?
I'll make a motion. Okay, so we're doing 2 and 3 at the same time or just 2?
First 2 and then we'll do 3.
Okay, so I move that the requested zoning map amendment from the R16 one-family residential zone to the LDR zone by Margaret Jensen in order to change the use of property to a legal 2-family dwelling in the Franklin neighborhood we recommend denial from the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll begin voting.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
And I'll vote nay on this one. So it passes 4 to 2.
And by passing, that means we're forwarding a negative recommendation.
Oh, that's right. So
Right.
I voted incorrectly. I mixed that up. I would deny it as well. So we'll vote that 5 to 1 on that one. So I'll try to make sure I keep that straight in the future. How about item 3?
Well, I think that since we're forwarding a negative recommendation, that we would also want to deny this one because this one's really only before us to help us make the decision about the zone change. So it doesn't actually have any standing unless the zone change passes.
Okay, is that your formal motion?
No, that's not my formal motion. It's more of a clarification of what we're trying to do here.
I mean, there are times we've done splits. 'Cause we
Yeah.
thought we shouldn't change it, but if we did, this is a great plan. But since the plan is to not change anything other than add a couple of parking spots, I don't know if it applies in this.
And explicitly, this split is to make it from a single-family residence with an ADU to a duplex.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we're saying we
we're
want it to
saying-
stay ADU until.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, I'll make a motion. I move that the Planning Commission deny the proposed concept plan to change the use of the property from a single-family home with an ADU to a legal 2-family dwelling in a proposed low-density residential zone at 256 West, 300 South, because we do not feel that it's consistent with the city code.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion? Okay, we'll begin voting.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote aye. And so this item, the denial passes unanimously on this item. Okay, so let's go to item 4. And just as a reminder, I know some people have stepped in recently. Items 5 through 9 concerning the concert venue as well as a townhome development. The developers requested that they be continued to a later meeting. So this will be the last item that we are seeing tonight. Okay, so if you've come to comment on the later items, I'm sorry, but the developers have asked that those be heard at a later time. And so we will not address them today. So with that, we'll go to item 4, Brighton Development, request project plan approval for a 26-unit townhome development in the DT1 zone located at approximately 88 West, 500 North. And Megan's the presenter tonight for everything.
All right. So this is, as mentioned, proposal for 26 townhomes, 100 West, 500 North. Currently the property is vacant. I think one thing to note is the deed restriction that we're working on with the developer, that the units would need to be owner occupied for 2 years from the initial purchase. And then a maximum of 25% of the units could be rental units. And we would track that with our business licensing for those rental dwelling units. We are currently reviewing their concept plan, but we brought it before Planning Commission because we didn't feel that any of the comments left from staff would greatly or drastically change the plan as proposed. So this would be, if it was approved with the condition that all of those comments are met. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Lisa?
Can you tell us where the parking is?
Yeah, so there's 2-car garage for each unit, and then they have required 3 ADA spaces over on the east side, northeast.
Looks like there's some on-street parking as well on 100 West.
Yes, they're adding on-street parking on 100 West. They're also going to be making room. Currently, there's not room on 500 North, but they're going to be changing the curb there and sidewalks, so there would be room for parallel parking on 500 North. However, we don't count those towards the parking numbers.
How does that work? Is that 100 West? Is it city property? Is it public right of way?
Yes, so that has to be approved, through Public Works.
Because right now it's a bike lane, so they would have to push the curb back in order for those to be parallel parking spots. Because they took all the parking out on that street to put the bike lane in. My son was hit by a car in the bike lane right there, so I know this to be
So you
true.
know that spot.
I just am, you said earlier that single family homes and an ADU had to have 3 parking spots per unit. So do these condos only have to have, or these townhomes only have to have 2 per unit?
It's 2.25 with visitor parking. In the downtown zone, they get a reduction of parking.
Okay, because of its proximity to downtown.
Yes.
And so it looks like there's no driveway that they could park in. I'm familiar with other projects of similar size units where they wind that they, by the plat, they had enough parking, but by the actual size of the garage and the fact that it was mostly being used for a storage unit, the cars weren't in actuality getting parked there.
Mm-hmm.
So especially with a parking reduction, I worry about where all the cars will go. But
Yeah,
if they meet the
do-
requirement, then that is not something I can argue about. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think this is our one time to argue about it, right? Because, so the question is, where will the cars be parked? I agree with you. I think many garages are likely to be used as storage units. And so that we'll hear complaints about inadequate parking. And will they park in the rec center? I mean, where are people going to park here? Really?
Can we, is this the right time to ask? Can we have a zoning map pulled up? Just for surrounding zoning?
I don't know if I included one.
Sandy has.
This is
all
on the
that.
very edge of the DT1 zone.
It's on page 7 of the report, if that's helpful. It has residential conservation to the north and a pro zone to the northwest, but everything around it is residential or DT1, excuse me. I think the staff
This one's
report
fine.
one is adequate. 7. It shows everything we would need to know. It's right there, Danny.
Okay, yeah.
So where Ms. Jensen raises a good point that we've all seen cases where in townhomes and even other homes where garage spaces are used for storage and that impacts parking. We can't allege that that is going to happen and ask for more parking because that might happen if we have to count what's in the garage. And if the plan meets the parking ratio that's required in the zone, then that settles the parking issue.
Yeah, I think a key distinction we have to remember is this is a project plan. The zone is already appropriate for it. So there's less discretion than we normally.
So can we require disclosure so that the occupants know that the expectation is that they park their cars in their garage and that there is limited off-street or limited extra parking?
Well, I think those are good questions for the developers. They're very experienced in building townhomes. But I suspect that's part of the reason for the angled spaces on the side street. But those are good questions for the developer.
And I don't know if it's best to ask staff or the developer, so just tell me to wait for staff if it is, but this is not the first proposal we've seen. In the report, it even mentions the apartment complex that I really liked, and I've actually been looking forward to
I
it
know.
starting for years now, and I'm like, why is it not going?
When I saw the empty lot, I was like, yes, and then
Yeah.
nothing happened.
And so would that be better to address with you or with the applicant on why that never moved forward?
I'm not sure the applicant would know, about that project. And I wasn't here when that project came through. But did you have a specific question on it?
Well, I mean, this will be better discussed during discussion, but it's so close to a UVX stop and downtown zone. And for the first time in my life, I think I'm thinking this is too low of density. And so that's what I wanted to wonder, if it just wasn't feasible for some reason, and I don't want to hold it up for something that, you know, is never going to happen anyway, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that didn't go for it. I just know the application expired, so.
Okay.
So the previous developer was Dave Campanella, who's done many multifamily and apartment projects in Provo. The developers probably have a better idea than I do, but my guess would be the structured parking that was required for the number of apartment
Got
units
too
he had
expensive.
made the project not financially feasible.
Right.
Dave's very experienced, that he's good at finding financing. If he could have gotten financing, I think he would have gone forward on it.
Yeah. So if the applicant knows anything, we'd love to know during your presentation. Okay, any other questions for staff? Yes, please.
So on others of these, and I think we're all excited that they're owner occupied, but it says here require owner occupancy for 2 years from purchase of the developer. I think on other projects, it's been 1 year, but in perpetuity every time it changes hands. Is there a reason this one's specifically worded differently?
I thought there was another one that said 25% total at any
It's
time.
2 years every time it changes hands.
It is 2 years every time it changes hands.
That's big, that's
Okay,
big.
I don't think that's what the staff report says.
No, it didn't.
But you,
From initial ownership or from, well,
this is 2 years from purchase from the developer, which does not indicate that every time it changes hands, we'll get another 2
So maybe we
years.
should ask the developer to clarify that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought there was something about 25%.
Right above it on
rentals.
page
Restrict
2,
rentals
item
to 25%.
says
of
restrict
units.
rentals to 25% of the units, which I also appreciate. I was just wondering why the language is different, but if it's not, I'm
Yeah.
jumping the gun.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, great, thank you very much. And we'll now invite the developer to come forward. You'll have 15 minutes for your presentation this time. The developer here tonight? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Brigham Hill. I'm with Brighton Development, and we're really excited about this opportunity to bring some more owner-occupied housing to Provo. The city's been super responsive. Staff has been awesome and great to work with so far. To bring some clarification to the questions that you guys raised when Megan was up here. Yes, exactly what you said, Bill, is correct with the apartment complex that was entitled originally. It didn't pencil because of the exact reasons that you said. And so for that reason, we're grateful that we're able to find a creative way to still make the land usable and provide places for people to live and owners. Fill a gap in the market where people can buy a home without having to buy an expensive new single family home. In relating to the question that you asked about garage storage, that is something that can definitely be amended in the CC&Rs by the HOA if that becomes an issue and something that needs to be solved. I forget who brought it up, but that's exactly the reason as well why we, like Megan said, the parking that we added along 100 and 500 doesn't count towards our parking requirement. We're doing that just to help alleviate the parking needs of this site. And yeah, also a question on 100 with the bike lane. We did run this by Public Works and got confirmation. They directed us to the downtown standards, and it lists exactly what we have proposed. And they said to follow that description, which is the 45-degree angle parking on the east side of 100, which is exactly what we're showing right there. And then on the bottom, yes, we're extending the parallel stalls from 500 on the property just to the east, the historic BYU Women's Gymnasium. And so we're bringing that in. We're making the curbs better. We're not having the deep curbs anymore. So that will extend the parallel parking. It should get us around 8 more parking stalls just there with parallel stalls on the south side. And I believe those were all the questions I heard you guys ask, Megan. So happy to answer any other questions that you guys might have.
Great, thank you. Questions? Matt?
So a couple of questions. One, first is how will you manage this? Is this going to be self-managed? You said CCNR, so I assume you'll have an HOA. Can you
Yes.
help us understand how how the management will actually work?
Yes, so we'll have an HOA that will be managing, and then we'll pass off to the community once it's substantially occupied. And it'll be managed just by that HOA, exactly.
So with that, you're right, you can amend CCNRs, but it's way better to have them done upfront with no discussion later. Are you willing to entertain the comment that was made that at least a disclosure, something to encourage, if not require, parking in the garage? I've been in CCNRs before where you have to be able to park 2 cars in the garage. If you don't have 2 cars, it's okay, but you can't have storage. Would you
Yeah.
entertain something like that?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we would be willing to entertain for sure.
Okay. And then can you clarify for us, seems like maybe Bill's memory and what's written in the staff report are a little different about the
deed
2-year
yeah.
deed restriction?
Yeah, so our understanding was that 2 years is just from purchase from developer. And so our understanding is that it would not switch once the property is resold over and over again. But with that, we have the 25% reduction to 25% maximum of rental occupancy to make sure that we're still keeping it as owner occupied focused housing in this area.
And along those lines, now combining both of my questions, how do you manage that if everybody all of a sudden is renting? I don't know who's even on the HOA at that point because you need residents on the HOA. So how do you manage that? Can you just help us understand how the management would look in maintaining the 25% and who gets it first and kind of how that works?
Yeah. My backup is coming to help speak to this better.
Sorry, I may be able to provide some additional context. My name is Sean Poor, also with Brighton Development. We've actually had this problem come up in other communities. This 25%, it did come from the city, but it is actually something that we put in all of our CCNRs. And we have a community in North Salt Lake where we had an employee's child that was living there, and he wanted to move out, but he wanted to keep the unit as a rental, but there was no more availability in that 25%. We also have an HOA. We set them up with a good HOA management company that helps monitor that does the tracking of that. And as long as you do a good job tracking it, it becomes a problem if you get way over that 25%. But as long as you're tracking it, the other homeowners will keep it from getting to that point. And yeah, in that case, he ended up having to sell it to another homeowner that is owner occupied.
So follow-up question there. I did the math, and if I'm doing the math right, it's 6.5 units is 25%. So is it 6 or 7? And my kids are gonna love that I just said that.
I guess I never did the actual math on this particular project, so we can round down if we need to.
I would just, yeah, maybe as you move forward with this, just.
Yeah, we can clarify that as a percentage that makes more sense based
Yeah.
on the number of units. Yeah.
Right. Or define it as the number of units, right?
6 units, yeah.
Yeah, that works too.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Do you want to just walk through some of the amenities that are planned?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a wide variety of amenities for this area. And even though it's a small site, we wanted to cram a variety in there to appeal to the different tenants that could be there and to foster a good sense of community despite being a very small site. What we have is a pavilion, and we have a fire pit area with seating. All of these will be permanent in place structures. And then, so that's more of like a hangout gathering area for this amenity space. They should bring it up. Was landscape plan on here? Oh, great. Oh, perfect. So as you can see here, this is the pavilion, and then directly south will be the fire pit area with seating. And then below that, we're going to have cornhole and ping pong, and those will be concrete permanent structures as well, so that people can't just run away with them or anything. And that will be some more amenities there. So what we have here is trying to create a place of gathering and also a place of fun and activity for people to enjoy the site. So yeah, despite being small, we got creative and are putting some things that we think the tenants will really enjoy and cater to multiple people.
Thank you.
What's the section in between units 8 and 9? Is that a lawn?
No, yeah, it's a driveway.
Oh, it's a driveway.
Yeah.
Duh. Okay.
It kind of changes colors, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just sticks out because there's not any other bigger ones like that on site.
It's a driveway, not out to the road, but a driveway for
Correct.
those units.
Just to access those units.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions? Last call.
Can you just clarify for me the floor plans? Which one is floor 2? The first level is the entry, right?
Garage.
The second level has the master bedroom.
Oh, yes.
Is that right?
So we have reverse living. So some of the units will have bedrooms on second story, and some will have them on the third story. So the second and third stories that you see here are interchangeable to create a variety of floor plans and options within the community. Oh.
That's it.
That one's
I
just
can
moving
never
stuff
get that one
forward.
to work either. That's why I usually.
There's a rendering of the landscape, or sorry, the amenity area for you as well to have visualized. Did that answer your floor plan question? Okay.
So the balcony is always off the living room, right?
Yes, correct.
So that shows you where the balcony is, shows you where the
Alternating.
living room is.
Yes.
So it alternates between units.
Correct.
Interesting. I mean, I'll just say, I think these elevations look really nice. I was impressed with them.
Yes, we've designed them to go very well with the rest of the downtown area to blend in very well.
Okay. I think that's all our questions.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
very much. Yep. So now we'll open the meeting to the public comment portion for this item. If you'd like to comment on this item, please come forward at this time.
My name is Bruce Holt, and I'm with Lift Home Buyers. I own the property just to the north of this. And I was curious as to the height of these buildings and if it was going to basically overshadow the building that I have there, or if it was going to allow. I've noticed over the last few days as I've been there, the way the sun hits the house, it's kind of a nice area, warms that side of the house. But if this is built to a height that doesn't allow that, is there any recourses or anything like that I mean, what's my options, I guess, is what I'm here for. And I was actually part of purchasing this property before because I was next door from the original owner there. And we were actually trying to make that 96 unit, 84 units, however it needed to be, with my property that I have now in order to see if we could make that work. But then the owner ended up contracting it with someone else. So just to give you that information, but so that's really my question. Height wise, is there any, I know the rest of the surrounding buildings are on the north of us, and so they don't block that sunlight. If the apartment complex would have been in there, then my house wouldn't be there. That would be used within that portion. So I guess in a way that's really at least the only question I can come up, since this is the first time I've heard of this part of the development. So.
Great, thank you. We don't address questions during public comment, but those are great questions. We'll address them afterwards. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any, we'll close the public comment portion and bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I think that last question was interesting because that was one of the things we talked about with the 86 units, about what sort of a shadow it would cast on the little building and next to it. But as I look at the lot plan, the project plan or the layout, it looks like that's the best possible spot to have a building because there's the driveway there, which would give it sort of a setback.
It does, it creates some buffer there. Just
So
to show it, Sandy, can you bring up the kind of just, I don't know, lot
The
layout
layout?
plan?
With the last plan that was approved, the apartment building, that was my biggest concern and worry with that plan was that was an even taller building right next to this home that would be left over.
and your property is the one that says existing building, is that correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Any means.
So I don't know that it was intentional, but I think it's fortuitous that it has the most setback from everything else on the plan, that there's a driveway there.
So, real quick, just to fill this out and address all of his questions, what is the height of the building?
Okay, 31 feet.
31 feet.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a typical 3-story building.
Okay, so here's my concerns. What I see happening is that the first 6 units that are built are going to be purchased, and then 2 years and 1 day after they purchase them, they're going to rent them, and then no other people can rent their units. So like, it's a lovely gesture, but I don't know how it will be enforced effectively. I guess it's just first come, first serve, because it's just such a great location for rentals that the market is going to say, you should pack as many people in here as possible. And they won't get rental dwelling licenses. So there'll be more than 6 of them, and it will rely on the neighbors to rat on each other and the HOA to enforce it. And so that doesn't necessarily mean we can say no to the project. I'm just saying that's what I hate about this idea.
So the deed restriction, the point of that is that it allows us as the city to enforce. But your question is valid. I'm not sure how we would know if it goes from 6 rentals to 7.
Yeah.
That I
Or
don't.
even 6 to 16.
Right.
If nobody notices it, then it's all about somebody getting reported.
At least the deed restriction means we don't have to only rely on the HOA.
Yeah, that's true. And for that same reason, I don't really feel comfortable with the rentals being enforced through just letting them apply for a rental license, because my experience has been that most people don't even know that's a step they have to go through. And then there's still some of them that know and choose not to do it because nobody knows they're doing it, sort of a thing. My question for Bill is there a minimum density in the DT1 zone? Like, are we destroying the intent of the DT1 zone with a lower density?
There's not.
Okay.
So to follow up on yours, I'm curious, so what would be your solution? Just let them rent whatever they want?
No,
or-
I love the promise of it. I just, it's like the promise of no one's going to bring cars to our close to campus development. And so we're not going to provide parking for them because we have this close to campus development. And therefore, it's the same thing as asking for a parking reduction. It's a good intention. It's a good idea, but it's really hard to enforce. And you can't anticipate without lots of policing what your residents are going to do. And in this particular case, as soon as they're all sold, there will be no company overseeing it. It'll be residents overseeing each other, and that gets even trickier. So I kind of am like in the back of my head going, it's a nice idea, but I don't really foresee it happening the way we think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Yeah, it may not be perfect, but at least there's some friction there, which I like. And one thing that we never talk about that I think is important is my wife and I recently bought a condo, and we learned through the process that to qualify for certain federal loans, you cannot have like a single owner own too much of the complex, or you can't have investment be over 50% of the complex and things like that. And so at least by doing this, it creates the opportunities for people to qualify for the full range of loans, the most inexpensive loans, to get in. And that's something that I like as well.
I also like the deed restriction of you can only own one property in the development.
Yes,
The development,
same.
I think that will help a lot with.
Addresses the same issue.
Yeah.
Right. That sometimes mortgage companies get scared too when too many investors or one investor owns too much of it.
And from experience, that having these in the deed and in the CC&Rs will drive away the kinds of investors we don't want involved, because they'll read that and go like, oh yeah, I don't want to deal with that.
Well, and when
And
we
they'll
bought
just move
ours,
on.
we actually had to call up the HOA and say, what limitations are there on here? can we rent it, for example, and at least they'll get informed at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Um,
can I,
so,
couple of other points. So I'm looking towards the end of the staff packet are the approvals, or I'm not sure what to call this document. Coordinator review committee report. I see that fire review is clear, but I'm kind of surprised because I don't know how you fight fire back in the dead end. Can you just confirm, Megan, that that's, or Bill, that that's
It's less
done?
than 150 feet from that intersection to the last unit.
So they just made it. Okay.
Is that correct?
It's got to be close. Good for you. I guess this is a recommendation. I'm looking at, can you go back to a map that has unit numbers? That one. So unit 21, the driveway out front kind of has a turn, like you could pull in head first and then back out, I'll say to the north. But the shared drive space next to unit 8 doesn't have that. That's going to be a bear for any non-smart car to get in and out of. I might recommend that you play with landscape and the driveway to give them a fighting chance to pull in and pull out on unit 8, but that's it. I like it. Good design, good amenity space. They're doing their best to encourage the things that we want encouraged and to respond to good city advice and council and requirements. And I think we're getting something good, even if it's not quite the density that maybe we wanted. It's density.
well, and that, I
It's
think
units.
the best for me, it sounds like that wasn't feasible. So I'm totally fine with that.
I actually like this proposal quite a lot. I think it provides a lot of things, as you've been mentioning, that we've been looking for. The owner occupied, the single family homes, and maybe it doesn't have the density you're looking for. I think it has a good density. I prefer this over the 86 unit apartment building. In fact, just for the home ownership and the location and the amenities and the look, I like it a lot.
Daniel, Melissa?
Yeah. First thoughts, I love the exterior design of it. This is probably one of the more impressive ones that I think we've had come before us in a long time. Love the contrasting textures, materials, articulation. Like some of the others, I'm a little bit saddened of it, that a little bit loss of density, but yeah, I think the trade-offs are, I want to say this is the first time I've heard an applicant proffer 2 years on a owner occupancy. When I've had reservations about owner occupancy things before and meeting the goals of the city, I think I've advocated for longer terms, like 5 years. I think city council is sometimes given 1 year. So to have 2 years, I think is really great. I hope they'd be open to higher percentage of owner occupancy, or if they found willing, interested buyers for more, they would be open to selling to more. But I like it. I like it a lot.
Just a clarification there. Do you plan on retaining any units or are you selling them all?
We plan on selling all of them, yeah.
Can I also ask how much you think they might be selling for? I know it's a little bit hard to project, but can you throw a dart?
More than we want.
I think right now we're looking at the low 5s is where we're shooting for, but we've still got a lot of legwork to do on that, so.
Okay.
I just like to throw out that I would never buy a unit with the kitchen 2 floors above the garage on the other side of the house for reasons of heat getting trapped in the upper floor and also for reasons of transporting groceries up 2 flights of stairs. So I don't know if there's a floor plan adjustment that can be made beyond the project plan phase, but I would recommend some other alternatives that allow for those alternating balconies to be used. Because I have a garage in my basement because I'm built into a hill. And so I already have to walk up 1 flight of stairs, and that in and of itself is very tiresome. So I can't imagine having to do a 2nd flight. So just a heads up that there may be people who share my opinion on that one.
Yeah, we're actually building this exact same unit type with the alternating floor plans right now in Murray. And the third floor living appeals to the people that like to entertain because we do a full vault across the whole space and it actually feels quite nice up there. You get the views, you're higher off the road, you're less road noise, and the vault kind of gives you a wow factor.
Yeah, legs. Well, I lived on the 5th floor of a walk up in New York, so yeah, I know. Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I move that the planning commission approve the proposed project plan for a 26-unit townhome development in the DT1 zone located at approximately 88 West, 500 North, conditional upon all CRC comments being resolved.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll begin voting.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote aye as well, and so the item passes unanimously.
I'm sorry, who seconded that motion?
I did, Daniel.
Thank you.
Glad that lid stuck on. Okay, so that ends our items that we'll be addressing tonight. Items 5 through 9 have been continued at the developer's request. We do have an item of business, I guess. We need to elect a new chair and vice chair. Melissa and I have reached the end of our terms here. So begin that item with first stage is to nominate. You can nominate yourself or someone else, and then that person who's nominated can, accept or deny the nomination. Anything else you want to add to that, Bill?
You can even nominate someone who's not here. It's up to
Okay.
you.
Can we get some clarification on who's leaving, who's not here, and who's getting
Daniel
added?
and I are leaving.
Melissa and Daniel. I mean,
Lisa.
Lisa and Daniel.
Yeah, Melissa, you're staying another.
Okay.
And can anyone repeat?
No, it's actually in your rules that the chairman cannot repeat.
But the vice chair?
You have to,
The chair can become the vice chair.
or vice versa.
Oh, I see.
That I know.
Thank you for the
happening in mind.
clarification.
Do we know Joel's feelings on playing one of these rules?
I haven't asked him specifically, but we correspond quite a bit, and my feeling is that he would be open to that.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
also just taken over my role with TMAC, so he has other things to do as well.
It's good to know.
I'm going to nominate Melissa Kendall for chair.
Do we need to second it?
I think for nomination, she just needs to say if she accepts it or not. Do you accept that nomination? She accepts that nomination.
And with that having been, I guess we have to vote on chair before we vote on the other. It tends to be easiest if you've been on longer. So it's not really playing favorites, but who feels comfortable in the role?
I have no aspirations, but I'm comfortable to do either.
Well, because I was going to nominate you for vice chair, so I'm just throwing that out. Because you're next in
Well,
seniority.
but if Melissa would rather not,
So if Melissa would rather be vice chair, I would nominate Matthew for chair.
well, she
So
can't
it
be
would-
vice chair again.
Oh, that's right.
That's the problem. But if you would rather not, I also don't mind not, but I also don't mind it.
That having been said, Melissa, you're retiring next year. So we'll give you your out with, right? Does she have 2 years? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is Melissa's last chance. So I was in my mind. So I was thinking this would be the year.
I believe it's a 3-year term.
And you just started another term? Okay.
Is that right? Yes.
I believe so. I'd have to check with the mayor's office. The mayor's secretary keeps track of all the timing of these, but I believe that's right.
Oh, that's right. It's on the website.
I'm happy to do it if you would rather not, but you would be great, as would Joel. As would John, as would,
Yeah, all of you would do
Okay.
fine, so.
you got plenty of time. If you want me to, unless John wants to do it.
Be willing.
John can be vice.
I kind of like that. Give us a break.
So why don't we nominate Matt to be the chair and John to be the vice chair?
I like that setup.
Let's do a package deal like it's a presidential ticket. Matt and John, Matt and John.
Okay, I formally nominate Matt Wheelwright to be chair.
All in favor, please say so.
Aye.
Should I say aye too? Aye.
Okay.
As long as you
so
don't say
Matt
nay,
is
it doesn't
chair,
matter if you say aye.
And I will nominate John Lyons to be vice chair.
All in favor?
Aye. Yay.
Okay, that was good.
Okay with that, Melissa? You're welcome. I saw the look in your eye.
I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.